Everybody, welcome back to Flex Volleyball. In this video, we're going to talk about your arm swing when you are spiking the ball. So let's get into it. All right, so we're going to talk about the arm swing when we're spiking. So we're trying to get power, we're trying to get height when we're attacking that ball, when we're trying to get that spike. There's 5 primary types of arm swings. 4 of them are going to be the main ones that most everybody uses, and then the 5th one is going to be kind of a wild card. So that 5th one is called the straight swing. This is something usually where you can jump pretty high, but you're really not using your approach very much. You might see sand volleyball players using this more, where you're just approaching straight and you're not really turning, but you're jumping up like this, and then you're going to be using your shoulder a lot here, and you're going to be hitting like that. So you're really using your shoulder a lot. And this one is probably the one that is going to cause the most damage to your shoulder because you're really putting a lot of stress on that shoulder to put energy into that swing. In court volleyball, you might be using it if you're at the net and it's an overpass and you're jumping up and then you're hitting it back over. And that'd mainly be the only time that I'd say you should be doing it in court. So in sand, you might be doing a lot because you can't move quite the same way in sand, and you may not be doing your full turn and rotation on the ground with sand, because then you're going to kind of get sunk into that sand, because good sand, volleyball sand, is pretty deep. So we're going to mainly be talking about court stuff because that's what I primarily teach. So the other ones is going to be the circular swing. This is the one that's the most popular right now. So we're up, we're drawing back, and then circling around. So it's doing that. Then there's snap, up, come from underneath the chin, and then we're snapping up like that to do our swing. Then there's low bow and arrow, where we're coming across our face. So we're up, swing, and then high bow and arrow, which we're above our head, and then swing. I prefer the high bow and arrow, and I'll tell you why. I get a better vertical, and I get a faster swing for the most part. The more popular ones, which is usually the snap and the circular at this point, the claim is that those ones allow you to, well, with the snap, the claim is that it allows you to be a little bit more deceptive in your swing. But I haven't, once you kind of know how to read it, it really isn't that much different than a high or low bow and arrow. You can turn it and cut it and slice it really easy with either one of these methods once you master it. So really not a huge difference in that. Then with the circular, the claim is that you can swing faster. And then it's also better for your shoulder, your rotator cuff. I haven't noticed that in any degree with that. The only time that I could see that happening is if you don't turn during your approach and you're going in straight, and then you're having cut and you're using this to draw your arm back and open up your body, your torso, in order to get a full swing. But if you're using a good approach, and you're actually turning here at the end of your approach and then jumping up, we're already open and we don't need this whipping motion to throw us back. We're already going to be in an open position, and we just draw that bow and arrow. We draw the elbow backwards, and we're already in this good position. And then we're using our body to turn and swing into that ball. So the circular one actually hurts my shoulder more. And then anyone that I have done classes with, they'll be doing this. And as soon as I change them to the high bow and arrow, they're always like, oh man, my shoulder feels so much better. But a big part of that is also we fix the approach too. Because if you're coming in straight and you're trying to do high bow and arrow, that is going to put a lot of stress on that shoulder. So we have to already be turned in order to open up better with that method. So it's not that the swinging method causes a problem, it's that the approach is causing the problem. And that's making it so that you're really putting more strain on that shoulder. So you're swinging more in the straight swing than you are in the high bow and arrow. Okay, so there's that. So for me, I have looked into it a lot. I've read a bunch of studies. The best study that I can find says that the circular gives you about a 5% increase in arm swing speed. I have not been able to produce that at all. I have my radar machine. I've never been able to swing faster with that method than I can with the high bow and arrow. But what I do notice is a huge decrease in my vertical when I switch to circular swing. And you can also see it. So here's a video. I don't know if it's in Japanese or Chinese or whatever, but he's advocating for the circular swing, but he's showing these other methods. But you can see by the time he gets his swing around, his vertical is lower than the high bow and arrow. So for me, I want that high vertical and I want that fast swing. So the high bow and arrow gets me both of those. I've not been able to get both of those out of the circular swing or the snap swing. The low bow and arrow, that one's kind of in the middle. I have noticed about a 2-inch decrease when I use the low bow and arrow, because we're coming up here and then we're cutting in right at our face. So we're losing this motion right here, whereas the high bow and arrow lets us actually get the full motion of that arm swing and get a little bit more vertical out of it. Snap doesn't allow for that, and then circular doesn't allow for it either. So you lose energy and momentum, and it decreases that vertical. Now, if you already have a monster vertical and you don't need any of that, you're already at a 40-inch vertical, all right, maybe some of these other swinging methods are going to be more beneficial to you. But I know for me, I lose the difference between high bow and arrow and the circular swing. It's about a 6-inch difference, 5 to 6 inch difference in my vertical. So that ends up being a 20% decrease in my vertical versus a claimed 5% increase in arm swing speed. So it doesn't even talk about the ball speed, it talks about arm swing speed. And I've never been able to produce it. I've never been able to actually get onto my AccuSpike machine and use the circular swing and swing faster than when I did the high bow and arrow. But I always have to lower my AccuSpike in order to use the circular swing. And then every time I have a player that comes in that's using circular or snap, they always have shoulder issues, and then I switch them, we correct the approach, and we teach them how to do the proper mechanics for the high bow and arrow. Then all of a sudden they're increasing their vertical and their shoulder pain is going away. So for me, and I do about 80 private lessons a month, and then I also do 2 club teams. I'm not doing any high school teams this year, but I have been, varsity coach, stuff like that. So I do a lot. And so I see a lot of individual players doing methods that they see other people do, or methods that other coaches are advocating for without any real research behind it. And they always come in and I say, okay, let's try both. I have the equipment, I have the radar machine, I have the AccuSpike, and then I record, I slow motion everything, and I show them what they're doing, and then we change and we try different methods. And it's like 95% of the time, they always do better when we go to the high bow and arrow. Their vertical increases and their swing increases, and their shoulder feels much better doing it. Okay, so I'd say try out all the methods. Try to do it in a controlled environment where you can measure the vertical height and you can measure your speed. And then when you put those two together, I'm pretty sure you're going to find that it's not as good as you thought it was. I know for me, before I got my radar machine, I knew that I was going to lose some of my vertical. I could tell that much without using the AccuSpike or using my radar machine. But I felt like I was swinging faster and harder when I went circular. So I was using circular for a while. And then I got a radar machine and I started hitting, and I started to notice, I was like, I am not hitting faster. I'm actually hitting slower with the circular. And that's when I really started to dig into it and see what I could do. And just for me, I'm not getting the increase in speed. I'm losing on my vertical, which I knew was going to happen anyway. I didn't realize it was going to be about 6-inch difference in my vertical though. So yeah, for me, it was kind of a big surprise and kind of a kick in the pants to be using that method and coaching that method. And then to all of a sudden, once I actually tried to implement it with all my gear, I could not produce anything good out of it. It was all worse than if I went with the method that everyone was saying wasn't very good. So I'd say try it out, figure it out, find out for yourself, but make sure that you're using actual, some kind of way to measure the speed and the vertical, because if you're just going by feeling, which is what I did before, it felt like I was performing better the other way. But once I actually was able to read everything and have something clocking it and measuring it, that was not the case. So go try it out for yourself and see what happens. Comment, put it down below, and let's see what we can figure out. So thanks for watching. We'll see you later.